So welcome back to another interview on the Recruitment 101 series. I'm Kerri-Ann Hargreaves, and today, which is really exciting because it was actually my colleague Katie who said I should get Dominic on because she's loved following your content on LinkedIn, Dominic. So for anyone who isn't connected to Dominic, I shall pop a link in the YouTube so that you can go and follow him. But Dominic's joining me today. He's got 3 points that I know nothing about. So I'm going to admit that I'm a little nervous because I don't know where this is going to go. Will we agree? Will they go in the bin? Let's see. So Dominic, introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Hey everyone, I'm Dominic Joyce. I'm a talent acquisition professional by trade, going on 7 years now. So not far from double figures. Also as a side hustle, they call it these days, I'm a CV writer and career coach. So wow. Yeah, I mean, I've got a 3.5-year-old daughter. Nappies aren't cheap, neither is Disney World. So that's kind of why it started, the sort of side project. And I'm very lucky since then, 3 years down, 500 clients while still recruiting. What kind of, I guess, follows me, I do a lot of content on LinkedIn around job search advice and what's good in a CV, and just love sharing a good meme and a good GIF. So to kind of make it a lot more relatable. And yeah, but thank you for having me on. Really excited to be here.
Oh, you're all right. And do you know what? I'm with you on making it relatable. And we call it here the human side, putting the human approach back into things and letting people see the real side of you on LinkedIn. Because I'm a massive believer in that helps in buying power. I don't know about you, but a lot of our candidates come to us because of how we, put ourselves out there. They understand more about us before they've even contacted us. Would you agree?
100%. Recruitment's a sales environment. People buy people.
Yeah.
People, they've always said, like, I have random messages, Dom, I love your content. I've had no idea who they are and where they're from. The other day, someone from Pittsburgh was like, oh, you've made my cut on my feed of people that I find relatable. And I was like, I don't know who you are, but thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I think that's how you and I first became connected, as I saw some of your content. And I thought, that's exactly how I feel. And I dropped you a message, and I think it's great that we can actually drop each other a message and say, loved what you've just put up on LinkedIn. Great post. It's all about supporting each other. And surely as well, I was thinking, you mentioned there how many clients you've got for your business. That must have, grown last year during the pandemic. I'm sure that people needed your support.
100%. I was very lucky, I think, that I started it in 2018 because, you'll probably see it as well. You saw a lot of recruiters that when got furloughed, trying to cash in on that cash cow to say, I've now become a CV writer while not recruiting. The irony is that some of the worst CVs that I've written have come from recruiters. we sit there and critique people's CVs and go, that's not quite right. And then you look at them and go, good God, man, what is that on your CV?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm very lucky that it's free to post on LinkedIn, share content, and organically get good clients.
It's such a great platform, and I am nervous of it going in the direction of Facebook and Instagram, if I'm honest, because right now the organic growth and reach is what it was like for Facebook and Instagram years ago. So it's going to change. So I think we just need to make the most of it now, don't we? And really build the platform as much as we can. Shall we dive into Recruitment 101?
Let's jump in.
Let's jump in. So for anyone who perhaps is just tuning in, Recruitment 101 is, well, Dominic is going to share with me today 3 of his pet peeves of the recruitment industry. So Dominic, what is number 1?
Number 1, and it probably won't surprise you, is job adverts.
No, job adverts never surprise me. Go on. What do you dislike about job adverts?
The fact that they're all written by 7-year-olds. I think they're kind of almost the first impression you're going to get of a company, especially or an agency. Yeah. So if you're not your Coca-Colas, your Klarnas, people wondering who you are. Like, what's your pitch? What's your bag? What do you do? Yeah. And half the time, it's all just. It's almost like somewhere there's stored in the cloud a generic BDM role, a generic account manager role, an accountant role, and it just gets pulled down from the sky and pasted onto a typical job advert. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this looks familiar. I've seen that before from somewhere. And they just kind of change the actual the company name if they're advertising it. Yeah. Equally, it's a cliche, and I did a post about it a while back. Every person's recruiting for an award-winning client in their sector, and it's always an exciting opportunity. Of course it is. It's not going to be a mundane, dull job that you've been forced to recruit for by your boss and just giving you a 10% fee on it.
Yeah, of course.
So my gripe is, of course, that it's the first experience the candidates get of your business, or if you're an agency, and people don't. It's the lack of the attention to detail and the care, and also the formatting. The other day, I saw quite a big facilities management company based in the Midlands had a HR advisor role on there, and 3 weeks, 3 applications. Looked at it, it was literally just bullet points, no intro, no synopsis. I was like, I'm not really, obviously, I'm not an expert by any means, but I can pretty sure tell you why you've only got 3. Emailed the MD and said, just a little heads up, it's a bit sketchy. Thanks, noted. I was like, that's basically that's a polite way of saying don't fuck off.
Yeah. No, you're right. And how brave, obviously, of it was it for you to actually email him and say, do you know what? Maybe this is the reason why you've not got many applications. Maybe you might need some help, but it
wasn't that spite.
Yeah,
it was to help people. Like, you know how it is in recruitment.
Yeah.
We're not all just sharks looking for a fee. If you see something you're looking at, you'll say, just a quick. I've done it. People come to my posts, like, I'm the worst person for posting content and then finding that I can't spell or pronounce there, and there.
Yeah.
Look at any of my posts, look at them, the top right corner, it's edited because I've always spelled something wrong. Someone calls me out on it, and I appreciate that because I'm a wordsmith, but I can't spell for toffee some days.
And do you know what? I think it's, as recruiters, like you just said, we're not all out there as sharks. I actually love what we do here. I love what I do personally. I want to help. I want to guide. I want to support. So if I see, like, a little bit like CVs, we'll come back to the reason what we've put on Recruitment 101 here. But like CVs, if I see an individual has dropped their CV to me and it's just filled with spelling and grammatical errors, I will always ask them to go back and reread it, because I think it's your first impression, isn't it? So the same with a job advert. I completely agree. You want someone to come and work with your business, you've got to sell the opportunity to them in that opening paragraph.
Yeah, that's what they're going to read.
It is.
A lot of problems are always a case of it's always very driven by the recruiter. Our client wants this. Our client needs that. You must have this. It's never a case of what's in it for you as the candidate.
Yes, what will you gain from coming to work for this business? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, don't get me wrong, I've definitely, over the last 15 years, evolved how I rewrite adverts. And it is so easy to say that opening line, this is an exciting opportunity. What's exciting about it? Tell them what's exciting about it. But if you want to attract the top talent, and you're doing that via writing an advert, you've got to be creative in your words.
Yeah.
It's simple.
It's a case of, isn't it? That's the first impression. If you can't convey what's good about your company, what you're offering is different. Because right now, you've seen it yourself, there's the candidates control the market now. There's more, I think there's a stat the other day that there's now more jobs than what there was pre-COVID, also higher salaries by 5%, I think it is. And there's the bottom salary is now increased by 12%. So people obviously are identifying there's gaps in the market for candidates having to up the salaries. That's just fact of the matter. So I think it happens a lot. It's either a case of it's literally just like the amount of content on there's like tin of baked beans, like little content. Then you get something that literally requires you to sit down with a glass of wine and a cigar and read it because it's like a short story.
Yeah, of course.
There's no real medium from it. So
I
think it's a case of, and the problem is always legal always get their hands on it. In bigger companies, legal say you can't say this, you can't say that, you've got to make sure you mention that. So for a human environment where we try and obviously hire humans, very few job adverts are actually quite human focused.
Often they're far too clinical, aren't they? There's just no emotional personality or human side of actually joining the business in there. So I'm with you. I think we both, obviously, you want to put this in the bin, don't you? It's going 100%. Into Recruitment 101, and I agree, it's got to go. Recruiters, hiring managers, HR people, anyone who is involved in putting together a job advert, got to get with the times, haven't they? They've got to make it more interesting. If you want to bring people into your business, get yourself on a copywriting course.
Yeah, I think it's Mitch Sullivan does one.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, a couple of other people have mentioned him
He plugs
actually.
that pony a lot. You see him
He
on
does.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But it's well thought of. So you got
Yeah, I
nothing, it's
agree.
obviously the course. I
So
mean, yeah.
go on, sorry.
I mean, I've started writing job adverts as well as a side gig,
Mm,
but it's I haven't got 500 clients for that. I've got a few clients, but
yeah.
if you're watching this in your recruitment company and you think you've got some pretty shoddy adverts, drop me a DM, we'll have a chat and
Yeah, that's
see what I
it.
can do.
I love the little plug, Dominic. So
You've got to plug
what's
out,
you've got to try, yeah. So what's number 2 then? What else do you want to put in there?
Candidate counter offers.
Oof, no one has done that. And that's a bone of contention of mine too. So shoot, talk to me about counter offers.
So I think there's an element of the recruiter control on the conversation, granted, and how you pitch it. I think my issue as well is more the candidate side that, and we spoke obviously before we went live about the parallels with dating to what you're job
Yes.
hunting.
Yeah.
Certainly parallels. If you're unhappy in your marriage, you don't then go out and seek an affair or a job service and try and find another job, have that affair, and then go home to your wife and say, "We've got to sort this out. I would demand more from you."
Yeah.
Same with a job. You don't. If you're unhappy in a job, you tell your employer this has to change. I'm not happy. You don't go out there and then come back like some sort of Cheshire cat smoking, going, "I've got a better offer of 10 grand. What are you going to do about it?" It's a little bit. There's different circumstances. If you get approached out of the blue, perfectly
Yeah.
fine because you weren't seeking it. If you are underhandedly going out to market, trying to get a counter offer to then go back in and basically hold your current employer to ransom,
Yeah.
you're a scumbag. There's no way. I'm quite blunt, but you are a scumbag. Like, because you're then wasting my time as a recruiter.
Yeah.
You're wasting the hiring manager's time as an interview, knowing full well that chances are you're not going to take it because you want to use this basically extended offer to go back and say. And I've seen recently a candidate get a 10 grand counter offer.
Wow.
10 grand that was literally kind of like.
Do you know, my problem with that, Dominic, is if they're going to get a 10 grand counter offer or even 2 or 3 or 5, were they not worth that to your business before they handed their notice in? And I get where an individual's coming from. They might feel flattered. But for me personally, having managed that over a number of years, there's nothing flattering about getting an increase once you've handed your notice in. There isn't, because it's come too late in the process for me, and another part, and I don't know if you're going to go on to say this, but another part of counter offers that I really dislike is when you hand your notice in, you've come onto the market for a reason, but you forget that when your boss then counter offers you with, well, we'll give you this and we'll give you that and we'll change your job role, and I didn't realise you felt like that. So both parties are at fault there, aren't they, Dominic?
100%. Employers need to listen to their staff more.
Yeah.
But then also staff need a backbone. Your manager, you're not going to be sacked by your company by saying you're unhappy in your role. It's not a case of saying to your boss, "I'm not enjoying my role right now," or "I feel I'm underpaid."
Yeah.
Dom's unhappy here. You better give him the hook before he leaves himself. And it's how you basically communicate with your manager and the business to kind of understand. That's down to a company having really good sort of career paths and having detailed calls with the employees. But I think there are times, of course, when it happens where you've tried to perhaps pitch it.
Yeah.
And they've said no. Then like, oh, actually, this person's serious. They've got an offer now. We have to kind of react.
Now we've got to take it seriously. Yeah.
But then you need to judge the behaviour of your employer. But equally as well, I think the stats showed 60% of people that accept a counter offer leave within the next, it's either 6 months or a year. Either way, it's not long.
6 months, and it's not long at all, is it?
No.
And I've had this conversation with someone we're supporting recently, and I shared exactly the same figure, because no matter all the promises, there was a reason why one day you woke up and you thought, my time is up, I'm moving on. And unless that's been addressed and something has changed instantly, you cannot believe that it will change in 3 to 6 months, in my opinion, because often it won't. No. They'll think they've got you, and they'll think they've just washed it over by offering you a few extra grand or promising you that job promotion. In my opinion, you are a fool to accept a counter offer. And that might be quite bold, and it might offend some people, and it might have worked out for some people. But I'm with you, Dominic. I just think counter offers don't work, and they make a fool of everybody in the process, in my opinion.
The only person that really wins from it, for the short term as a candidate because you get a bit more money in your back pocket. Which, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. But then it's in that feeling of you're then sat there on the next month's paycheck thinking, oh, I've got another 200 quid.
Mm.
Is that 200 quid really worth still staying in
Yeah.
an environment that toxic environment? I joked
Mm.
the other day on a poll from Chris O'Connell that, I can be in a toxic environment as long as I can be paid enough to buy a Lamborghini, a nice house, my pool, a
Yeah.
GD cellar. But I call it the kind of the shit to salary ratio. How much shit can you take as to
Yes.
what salary you're paid? That's kind of what
Mm.
it is, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. The money doesn't always solve the problem. If the problem
No.
is money and it was down to the environment or your boss or anything,
Mm.
you're still putting yourself through that pressure. But now they actually expect more from you because you're now recommitted.
That's it. You've
And
recommitted to them. Yeah. And I think on that point that you were just making there about, it's not good for you as a person. The one thing that might go in people's favour now when perhaps they are approached with that situation with counter offers, people are really favouring their mental health after going through the pandemic, and they're realising what makes them tick and what they actually want in their career. So I think people are re-evaluating. So I wonder if we will actually see, I don't think we'll see a rise in counter offers, if I'm honest. I think they'll still happen, sadly, I just think if you've made that decision to go onto the market, just commit.
have some backbone.
Have some backbone, you're right, yeah.
Have some backbone about talking to your employer first and say, right, and if they want to offer you on discussion, then clearly the motives aren't there. Like you need to have something like the damage control or put a band-aid over it to solve the problem. So candidates need to have some backbone and say to the employer, I'm not happy. That's got to change. Same in a marriage.
Yeah.
Because you spend a third of your life at work.
Yes, exactly.
Recruiters spend more than a third, but that's just we make that choice. We choose the third life of recruitment. But yeah, I think it's just have some backbone, but equally as well, there's a little bit of onus too as well on the recruiter to kind of educate the candidate as well and say things like, you do know stats show this.
So, I agree with you here, Dominic, about the recruiters, but we are then criticised for being biased because they think that you're doing it for your own personal benefit, that we're trying to make that deal or to get that piece of recruitment over the line. And again, that is the case for a lot of recruiters, isn't it? I'm sure it is. I actually, I'm very proud to have a really good network of recruiters that actually love what they do and they're very human, and it's about educating. I try and always educate candidates on all elements of the process, thinking, well, listen to me, I've been managing this for 15 years. I've come across this scenario on so many occasions. You need to take a balanced view, It's so hard though, isn't it? If you've got a good recruiter, they will try and educate you, but how many times are we heard? I'm not sure.
The problem you get with recruitment as well is it's not regulated really. There's no qualifications. You can actually get an 18-year-old kid out of college, kicking through top man in a suit, put him on a phone.
Yeah.
He's a recruiter making calls that and making promises that he can't keep because he's not been given the right training. So it's down to the company's their structure as well. But ultimately it's the candidate as well. But recruiters
we do have a part to play, don't we? Yeah, a big part. So let's vote then. So are we popping that into Recruitment 101 counter offers? We've got to, haven't we?
You've got to, yeah. Put the bin, set it on fire.
Put it in the bin and set it on fire. No one said that before, Dominic. You've said a few things today that no one said before. I'm really enjoying this. So let's go on then. Your last point. What are you treating the audience to? What's your final Recruitment 101?
CVs, but from both ends.
Ooh, go on, both ends. What's this mean?
From the recruiter's point of view, or from the candidate's point of view, because I think recruiters don't do enough to educate candidates on what they look for in CVs. I've started doing it, and the problem you have is that you get career coaches and CV writers that have never looked at a CV in their life or haven't ever had a say in the hiring decision or the pipeline. You get people that worked as like customer service managers. I'm now a CV writer and a career coach.
Yeah.
All right, sunshine. Where's your backstory? What's your MO? Because you just do it obviously and then they start coming at things like the ATS robots. We've worked in recruitment, combined for probably decades. Do you know what? I've done research on it. Other people have that are recruiters, and I think recruiters need to do more. Not just people to educate candidates. Say, look, this whole thing about ATS bots. I'm the ATS bot. I reject you, not
I'm
a
a
machine.
person, I'm a human, I read your CV, I'm the ATS. Oh, I agree with you. This frustrates me because I see too many people talking about the ATS spots, and actually, I just don't believe they exist in every business or every recruitment process. I really don't.
It's also media. The other day,
Mm.
I'm not going to say his name, but the guy's a total tool. He runs a career. He's just, he runs a company that does like, it's, you always know when someone calls a company by their own name, they're a bit pretentious. Like, but he does his own CV writing company. He
Yeah.
got an email and was like, "Oh, you've got to beat the bots." I was like, "Mate, you work in recruitment. You know bots don't exist. Why are you doing this?"
Yeah.
Monetization, obviously, and to help people to give his angle.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so I think the problem is that people get LinkedIn's, like you said, Facebook and Instagram now. There's a guy in Canada who is a product manager who talks about CVs. Don't send it in PDF. Send it in Word. I'm like, sorry, but you're a product manager, Sunshine. Are you classed to give that kind of advice? Where's your recruitment background? So I think as recruiters, we're not doing enough to educate our candidates about.
I spent 35 minutes this morning just educating someone on their CV, and was it heard? Was it wholly taken in? Do you know, 9 times out of 10, I think candidates really, they thank you for it. They're really grateful that someone's actually given them that feedback, because sadly, recruiters, some of them are guilty of just sitting there saying, I'll accept that CV that you've given me. But I know, and I think I can say this for the whole office, but if I present a CV to a client that hasn't been tailored to a role that we are recruiting for, they are always on the rejection list. Yeah. And we will advocate for them. We will go back, but you cannot presume that the hiring manager can read your mind if it's not on the CV. Don't be a fool and presume that they can, see something that you're trying to say that actually isn't written down and writing. I'm going to put this back on you for a sec because you have this as part of your job role. So are you ready?
Go for it.
My bugbear with people that work in your industry, where they support people as a CV writer or a coach, they tell candidates they should only have a CV of 2 pages. And that's the biggest load of rubbish that anyone can tell a candidate, because unless you're a graduate with no experience or you've had 2 jobs, 2 pages does not represent you in the best light. What's your view on that?
100%. CVs are completely subjective. There's no, I will not sit there and say to a person, it's got 2 pages. I will say it needs to be as long as it needs to be to fit in what's important. And I had a client recently who was a strategic operations director in travel for 25 years.
Wow.
The company wrote a CV, put it on 1 page. He's like, oh, I've 220 applications, not 1 interview.
Wow.
Oh, Sunshine. I'm not a mathematician, but I can probably tell you the stats of that tell you that it's not a great CV. So I think you're right there. Graduates, people have had like 1 or 2 jobs leaving school. Generally 1 page will suffice. I mean, again, this is not a reward from say it must be, but someone's got mid sort of entry to senior level. 2 or 3 is a common norm, but it's not recommended. CEO, CFO, C-suite can be 5 pages.
Yeah.
If you're a contractor, it's a short book. It's like War and Peace.
You're right. Contractors is always a summary-based CV, isn't it? And then perhaps they would attach an addendum for supporting information for a specific contract. Maybe that you're so right with the advice. We're in such a privileged position, aren't we, as recruiters, Dominic? We can really, put out there so much information that will help job seekers. And Katie and I turned into, CV writing coaches, career coaches, just counsellors last year, because everyone needed support. And actually, as much as it was hard sometimes because the pandemic affected us all, it was actually we felt so good for being able to put our knowledge out there and help people, to know that we were helping people in such devastating circumstances was awesome. And a recruiter who hasn't got that much time,
there's a few who did that, like yourself did that, a few that sort of were doing that, but there's still recruiters out there that are quite happy to, like, and I know them, like they're my friends. They're not great people in terms of, like, I'll have a pint with them, but they're not great people as a recruiter, but they earn 6 figures because they're just ruthless. They want a CV to an offer. I think that's kind of again why we get a bad name, because of seen as ruthless and cutthroat. The ones that do good, like you said, probably I didn't know you did that, and you probably don't talk about it enough. But it's about, even as recruiters, educating candidates on ATS, on listen candidates. Here's how an ATS platform works. Here's how we move you across. I had to call out a girl the other day who works in marketing. She's 23 and put a post that about 75% of your CVs get rejected by bots. I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be, you know, I want to call you out on this because I have to, because it's my industry. You're trying to tarnish. But where'd you get your facts from? Oh, I went on to Daily Mail and the internet. I was like, bravo. I was like, so if I want to lose weight, I will go to a PT, not to an Instagram influencer selling weight loss tablets. If you want to talk about facts from ATS platforms, talk to a recruiter. Don't go on Google. I said to her, like, she had 200 likes. I'm like, people now are seeing this, and I'm like, that's
and
not
believe
right.
in it, and it's not right.
She's got 10,000 followers. Whatever she now says is now gospel. I couldn't say that, you know, grass isn't green, it's actually a slight colour of mauve.
Yeah.
So
I do love your style, Dominic. I'm so glad you joined me today.
Thank you. But I think as recruiters, we have a duty of care to our candidates, but also for LinkedIn to kind of say, look, and also if you see it on LinkedIn, call it out and just say, I'm a recruiter. What you're saying is not right, or just say, right. Or do a LinkedIn Live as a recruiter and say, look, here, you know, I had 4 recruiters on my LinkedIn Live once, all agency, talk about actually how they treat candidates, the process, how it works. One of the most viewed lives, because it was all about candidates and how they actually treat them, what goes on behind the scenes, and they all admitted, like, we've actually posted fake jobs to get candidates. They all admitted that in a way, but it was like almost like a confession of like, we do it, we're sorry, we don't do it anymore. We did it at the start.
We did it at the start.
Certain companies force that. So it's kind of showing, look, we're all human, but I think it's quite a sort of open, seems quite an open subject, because of course it comes part from the candidate, part from the recruiter. But I think we as recruiters don't do enough as an industry. There's like yourself and a couple more that do good and help people and career progression go above and beyond. But some just think, right, crap CV, reject it. But don't basically educate, don't reject, and they will thank you for that.
I think we always try to educate throughout the process, and I think if we aren't able to do that, then we're failing. It's quite simple. So I'm with you, Dominic. I think, well, you've got 3 there completely into recruitment room 101 without a shadow of a doubt. You've done well there, considering you surprised me with them.
Smashing, good stuff. No, good. All in the bin. We'll just put a bit of lighter fluid in there.
Yeah, you've exploded today, haven't you? So well done,
marshmallows, some s'mores. We'll do that.
Marshmallows, toasted marshmallows. That sounds like a good one, Dominic. So I think that's where we'll leave it then. So thank you so much. I think we'll have to bring you on another time once your role has expanded and what you're doing right now, because you might have some other things to say now you've, you know, expanded your remit a little bit. So maybe you need to come back.
Yeah, I'd love to come back, and I had a blast. Thank you for having me.